All right, evidence stacking up against Carol Hignite as the trial comes to a conclusion. We'll be playing it throughout the day here. Again, this happened over the holidays. We recorded it, and now we're replaying it yesterday and today. We'll find out what happens to Carol, and there's a bit of a surprising end to it. Let's talk about the case with trial attorney Bruce Rosenberg. He's in New York City, and forensic psychologist John Delatorre is back. He is in San Antonio, Texas. Good morning to both of you. Bruce, this case, it seems as though the state has a lot of evidence, and this fire, this arson accusation is really just that last little, just the accusation itself does carry some weight, does it not? Because now jurors are thinking, oh, she tried to cover something up.
Absolutely. Good morning, Ted. It is. It's a sensational little item that adds to the overall flavor of the case, and it adds to the list of specific details that the prosecution is putting together. It's hard to believe when you're hearing the testimony of the fire investigator and looking at the defendant sitting there and her reaction to the testimony. It really is a conflict. When you hear what the actions were and you see the evidence and then you look at the response by the defendant. So it certainly is an interesting addition to the case and what's happening right now for the prosecution.
John, do jurors look at defendants? Obviously they look at them and they study them, but how much do you think subconsciously filters into their mind, especially you have a unique defendant, 74-year-old woman sitting there. How much of that factors into their overall willingness to think that someone could be capable of a crime of this magnitude?
Oh, a lot more than we think that we do. So there's been some studies, some research coming out from what is known as trial science, looking at how juries render verdicts when it comes to the appearance of the defendant in the case. And absolutely, this jury is looking at this frail old woman and trying to look at, could she really set a fire? Could she really beat someone her husband over the head with a hammer? Could she really be doing any of this stuff? Looking at her face and looking at how she appears in the moment, all these facial reactions, they are absolutely taking it all in. And it's going to be very difficult then for a jury to render a guilty verdict given her age and given her frailty, right? This jury is going to be in a very complex situation because they see the intenseness and the viciousness that the prosecution is saying happened, and they're looking at someone and they're wondering, can this person even physically be capable of performing these crimes?
Bruce, the defense take is that this was a fall in the bathroom, and our client did not do anything to this man. Could it be both? Could he have fallen and she became frustrated with him, threw him in the bedroom, and wouldn't forensics help the defense in that case? I mean, if there is anything in that bathroom in terms of blood, etc., it bolsters her story.
Yes, absolutely, but I think there's also some details that have been or haven't been clarified yet, such as I believe that there was some testimony that there was some blood found in the bedroom, and certainly we have to wait and see and see how if the defense raises up the fact that there is DNA and there is evidence in other locations in the house, and any movement between the bedroom and the bathroom and the kitchen, and these are all factors that will play into how the defense approaches the case, and certainly looking at the defendant, as John pointed out so correctly, it's going to be hard for the jury to look at this woman in her condition and think that something more than that happened.
Yeah, we'll see it play out. We want to know what you think about the trial. You can join the conversation on Twitter. Tweet us your questions, comments at CourtTV. Coming up, more testimony from the Hignite House fire investigator. Find out who the defendant initially blamed for starting the fire. Okay, cross-examination of the fire inspector still with us. Trial attorney Bruce Rosenberg in New York, and forensic psychologist John Delatorre. He's in San Antonio, Texas. John, for this defendant, she is, whether she's guilty or not here, she's definitely not a career criminal, and is put now in this position. What percentage, it's not a direct, there's not going to be a number here, but overall, someone in that position, one would think if indeed they are guilty, they wouldn't put up a fight, or do they? Does the human mind say, okay, I'm not I want to try to beat the system here, even though I've done something bad?
I think a lot depends on the age and intelligence of someone. Now, I'm going to say that intelligence doesn't determine what you will do. It only determines how well you're able to do it. Neurologically, she's already, elderly. It's certainly possible that she's dealing with some age-related cognitive decline. There's a lot of issues that are going on that may make a plan to kill someone look less sophisticated, that if she were 20 or 30 years younger, it might look different than what she is kind of right now, or 4 years ago, whenever this thing had actually occurred. So it's certainly possible that someone could be less sophisticated as they get older. It's certainly also possible that her emotions got in the way and it overrode any kind of intelligence scheme that perhaps that she had going on. And I think that's kind of the problem, again, that the jury is running into, which is the prosecution is presenting a case in which this person seems like a dastardly sort of villain, and that's not what the jury is seeing. There's nothing to suggest that something was really kind of just planned. Everything just seems kind of haphazard and spontaneous. So I think the jury's really trying to wrestle with some stuff, and the defense is really poking some holes.
Yeah, and the defense has reiterated this theme of she just did everything from the minute you walked in. She gave statement after statement, fingerprints, DNA swab. This alleged murder weapon was sitting on her kitchen table. She said she was using it to chip ice, to give him ice chips. Really? She's not going to hide that after calling 911 if you're claiming she, was knocking him on the head? Bruce, overall, what do you think in terms of the strength of the prosecution's case, and even specifically with the cross here on this fire inspector, that the defense was able to get a few things out, like that lighter's not attached to her?
I think the defensive cross-examination is poking a hole in the prosecution. There is no explanation as to why the investigator didn't include that in the report. There's no explanation as to why the investigator didn't tell the grand jury that, in fact, there were no fingerprints found on the lighter. And again, it gets into Ms. Hignite was straightforward and seemingly open with the detectives, and she said that she didn't know. And here, especially looking at the pictures again, here in court, it appears that she doesn't have makeup on. When you put up the picture of her at her booking when she was arrested, she may have had makeup on, so she looks distinctly different. And I think that John pointed out very well. It just, the way the prosecution is going about the case with the details is directly in opposite to the way the defense is defending, which is presenting a elderly, more simple person, and the two portrayals just don't jive. They don't connect.
John, she's been in jail waiting trial for almost 5 years. That's going to take a toll, but that is a dramatic difference. And what do we think when we see her? And some people have commented, she looks sour and angry, an angry old lady. Others saying she looks frail. How important is it, one way or another? We talked about it a little bit earlier. The jurors are processing, are they not, subconsciously, everything they see, including the defendant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if she's been waiting for 5 years in jail, why shouldn't she look sour? I mean, if we're talking about what we expect someone to be, how we expect them to look, she should be angry. If she is actually innocent and she even believes herself to be innocent, of course she's going to look upset. Of course she's going to look sour. She's hearing all evidence being presented against her. And in her mind, she's thinking that none of this is actually true. So, of course. But then she's also not taking care of herself. Jails aren't known for their health spa benefits. I mean, it's a very difficult place, especially for someone who's elderly. So of course she's going to look kind of disheveled. Her hair is not going to look right. She's not wearing makeup. Of course, all of these things are going to happen. So I think the jury and perhaps even some audience members tend to forget that. They kind of jump time from the time of the incident to the time that they're at. They forget everything that kind of is intervening in the middle that impacts someone.
Absolutely. Still ahead, the man accused of killing 4 Idaho college